Absolutely love to go to other countries and learn about them. I have been to Brazil, I have been to Taiwan, and was also a blast. And, making sure that like I observe the culture, it's really nice. Some people may say I observe too much or too deep because I have been saying hello, y'all a lot. So I'm fine with it. Like the world is coming, so I'm getting ready to go. So like it's that type of stuff. People be like, yeah, you are too Texan. And I'm like, I like it. That means that, I adjust to the culture. So I like that. Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to Bold. My name is Isabel, and in this episode, we have Tchissola Silva, a University of St. Thomas student getting her master's in diplomacy. In this episode, we talk about her coming to the United States from Angola, the ups and downs that come with it. We also talk about how she finds community here and how it changes her perspective on life. But before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram and YouTube at Max Studios UST to stay in the loop and get a behind-the-scenes sneak peek at everything that we're working on. Now, let's jump into this episode of Bold with Tchissola. Hey Tchissola, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure.
All right, can you give us a little elevator pitch?
So my name is Tchissola Silva. I'm an international student from Angola. I am currently a graduate student at University of St. Thomas. I am doing my master's in diplomacy and strategic affairs, and I will graduate now in May 2023. Yeah, I'm almost done.
That's so exciting for you. That's awesome. Yeah, congrats.
It is. Thank you.
All right, so let's start at the beginning. Talk to us about how you came to the United States.
So I came to the United States in 2018. And just, to go to college because I always wanted a better education. And, my family had the possibility of sending me to the United States. So, it was a good opportunity. I just took it. And, I came, did 10 months of English. And then 1 week later, I literally came to USD. Yeah.
And so you came here by yourself. So your family's still back in Angola.
I have an aunt that lives here, but the rest of my family is back home. Yeah, it's just the two of us.
And how was it like coming to UST? What was that experience like?
It was kind of hard. I won't lie. I'll say that we did the tour first, and I fell in love with the school. The fact that it was small, the chapel. I love the chapel. So when they say that like classrooms are super small or not like 300 students like other schools, I was like, perfect, So I chose UST because of, how small they are, how the community it is. And I literally came to do a tour, and a girl, I still remember her, she's still being a student, and she talked to me like I was another student, and I loved that. I was like, it's a really welcoming community. So, it's just that feeling of being in a school that you are welcome regardless like where are you from or how do you speak. It was hard, but having a community that looked up to you it made the process a little easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And how was like your first year at UST? What was that like?
My first year was hard. I won't lie. I started school in spring instead of fall. So, yeah, I did not have freshman symposium, nothing. It was like just me coming to school. And my first class, it was like, it was a math class. And it was really hard. I was like, what are we doing? And I was so nervous. And, sometimes when English is my second language. So sometimes I would be like, what is she talking about? Like sometimes some words that she would use it, and I would be like writing them down to get home and see what they mean. So it was really hard. My second class, I remember like the professor talking about Blackboard, and I was like, what is Blackboard? What is he talking about? So I had a friend, she was an international student too, and her sister was a junior here. And, they helped me go through like Blackboard and all this. If it wasn't for them, I don't know, I would be like 2 weeks without knowing what Blackboard was. But it was hard. My first year definitely was hard. Adapting to the school, adapting to the educational system was not easy. But, I made it through it. But yeah.
Yeah, when we talk about adapting, let's talk about like the culture? Because like I'm guessing the culture here at UST is very different than what you're used to.
Yeah, the culture at UST and the culture in the United States in general, it's really different from mine. It's a very like straightforward culture that I mean it is welcoming. It's a welcoming culture, but when I'm from a culture that is more like family based, a lot family based, and the United States is a culture that is a little more like, you know, individual. There is the community kind of vibe, but there is also like the individual. Adapting to that was really hard. Adjusting to the accents, I never thought about that, but you know, adjusting to the Texans accent and you know the New York accent. I had professors from like different countries. I had a professor that he was from Nigeria. I had a professor that was from Georgia, if I'm not mistaken, and they have different accents. So I needed to adjust to that too. It's not easy, but whenever you're willing to learn about that culture, it makes it easy. Like I have always been willing to learn about the American culture, the Texans culture. I learned that. I was like, okay, there's the American and there's the Texan culture. So I learned that. I started saying y'all a lot, just to make it, you know, a little fun about it. So yeah, it's hard, but it's not impossible. Yeah.
I like that. Interesting. Mm-hmm. So I was born in Mexico, right? And I moved here when I was in kindergarten. And I remember, similar to you, like I went to kindergarten and I didn't know English, right?
Yep.
And my mom was like, she said that like I would just like follow the kids around, right? Because I mean, kindergarten, it's like you just play, right? So, but I would just follow the other kids around and I'd be like, Mom, I have no idea what my teacher is saying to me. How did you learn English?
So back home, I have always been a Disney girl. Like I watched every single movie. I was a huge fan of Disney and all the cartoons, the songs, most of them. So in Portuguese, they do translate whatever like the actors are saying, but the songs, most of the songs are not translated. So we need to learn the songs in English, even without knowing the meaning, but we still learn them. So that was an exposure to English, and I always had that since I was little. When I came to the United States, it was I went to the English school, and I had English for academic purpose. That is, you know, for like English to go to college, basically. So that helped knowing how to do research papers and in American style, kind of how to adjust to assignments and all this. That helped a lot. But of course, you know, at the English school, I learned a more formal English. Whenever I would go, you know, out, you know, I don't know, to the shopping mall, to stores, it would be a more informal English that I needed to learn to make sure that, like, I fully speak English. But it wasn't easy, but it was a fun experiment because I had a lot of friends that tried to teach me bad words. So I needed to be careful and make sure, like, you know, okay, they would tell me one word and I would be like, wait a minute. And I would go to my phone and translate just to make sure that I'm not saying a bad word. So, you know, it was hard. It was hard, but I look back now and I smile, and that makes me happy because, you know, I went through a tough time, but now I look back and I was like, it was necessary to you know, to help me grow as a person and, you know, to make sure that, like, I know what people that go through that, how they're feeling.
All right. And so how did you make new friends? I feel like that must have been so hard. How was it for you?
It was. It was kind of hard. I won't lie. You know, the approaching to people, and in my mind, I was always like, oh, I don't know how to speak English, so how I'm gonna talk with people. But then I was like, how am I supposed to learn if I don't talk with people? So I had that dilemma for about like a month after starting USD. I was a little reluctant to like talk with people and approach students. And I was like, they come from high school, American high school. I come from an Angolan high school. It's completely different. But then I was like, you know, it's two different systems, two different people that can come together and talk about their experience. So I met people, we were taking classes together, and, you know, I was able to connect with those people and become friends with them. I still have my roommate was my friend. Like, we have been friends since freshman year. So, you know, it's that type of story that I like it. It was really hard to get to know people, but then I decided that, like, you know, if I don't start talking, I won't have anyone, and I had to be alone. So, you know, I kind of left my comfort zone. It's really hard. It's really hard, but I realized that I need to leave my comfort zone. Otherwise, I would not have friends. And honestly, it was the best thing that I did, because the following year, it was COVID time. So yeah, I was like, I'm happy that I get to, you know, make friends, and now, although we are texting, but still, you know, at least I had that social interaction. So I'm happy that I got to leave my comfort zone. It was hard, but at least I did it. Yeah.
I think that's like really good advice, not even for like international students, but like everyone who's in college. I feel like even I like sometimes struggle with like making new friends, and it's like, I want to make new friends, but like, how do I do it? And I think that like getting out of your comfort zone is like really good advice.
Yeah, definitely. I think that we get so stuck on our comfort zone, and it makes sense, you know, that is why it's our comfort zone. It makes sense. We are there, we're comfortable, you know, and why would you leave that place? But sometimes I say that to find another good comfort zone, you got to leave that old one.
Absolutely. I really like that. And then let's switch gears a little bit to talk about how do you like maintain your own culture? Like, you talk about adjusting to the American culture, but like, how do you adjust?
Honestly, you know, my culture will never die. I will never stop, you know, appreciating my culture, using it and all this. It's in little things, like dressing my traditional clothes, listen to, you know, my music and all this. It's hard to keep it whenever you are trying to adjust to another one. But at the same time, I make sure to remind myself that I'm proud, and, you know, I always tell my friends, like, I'm an international student. I'm from Angola, like, you know, because I'm proud, and it makes sure to myself too that, like, you know, hey, don't be ashamed of being an international student and from saying it. All my elevator speech, I start with my name and the fact that I'm an international student. Always, always. I'm from Angola. So that is the way that I try to keep my culture, you know, vivid to myself, and to try to teach other people about it.
Can you give us some like Angolan, like some things about Angola? Like, tell us some things that you think people should know about.
Have you heard that song, Dança Kuduro?
Yeah.
Kuduro is actually from Angola.
No way.
Yeah. And the rhythm from that song is not Kuduro, but like a lot of people know Kuduro because of that song. So that song like kind of opened the doors for our own like music style. So I always love to tell people that. Fun fact, Kuduro is from Angola. So yeah, it's those little things. The food, amazing food, honestly. That is what I miss the most, I won't lie. But, you know, we are a really family-oriented culture. You know, Sundays for God and family. We do have, like, a lot of lunch, like family just get together. That is really nice. We take birthdays serious, like 1, 5, 10, every 5 years. We take really serious. So it's a culture that values a lot family. I think that is why I miss my family so much. You know, it's the fact that I went from like a super close kind of environment to an environment that, like, okay, I only have my aunt. You know, so I needed to create my own family in the United States. That is why I keep like my friends super close. I'm like, you know, you're not going anywhere, because, you know, it's that feeling of like, I need people like around me, people that I love. So it doesn't need necessarily to be blood, but like it can be friends. So I keep that, and that for sure comes from my culture. Yeah.
And that brings us to our next piece. So we are now going to go on campus. We're going to have a heart-to-heart with Tchissola, and we're going to talk about the difficulties of being an international student. coming to the United States all by yourself, did you ever feel like lonely?
I did. A lot of times I felt really lonely, like I did not belong to the community. I did not belong to the USD community, to the US community. So I had a lot of moments that, it was hard for me to adjust. But, then I found friends, I found classmates that, they helped me in that process of, adjusting and not feeling that lonely anymore, not feeling that imposter syndrome anymore. It took a long time, but I got there.
Yeah. And then you went to Angola, right?
Yeah, I did.
So your first year, how was that?
I went back home 1 year after being in the United States, and I was happy. I was full of joy being back home with my family, my grandma, and eating like Angolan food every single day. That was super super fun. But whenever like I would get closer to my return date, it would be like I would get so nervous, and I tried to understand why, and I figured out that it was because I did not want to leave my culture again. It was really hard to adjust to the United States, to adjust to people, language, food, and I'm literally on my comfort zone. I'm in my country, my comfort zone. Everything is great here. Do I really want to go back where I don't feel like I belong? So it was really hard to try to tell myself that, hey, it's okay. I can always come back. And I had my family also supporting me and, telling me that it's okay, feel like that. And that, I'm going back to America to study. And that, at some point I would find Angolan stuff in America. And I did indeed, but, it doesn't, take away that home, that feeling of being at home. Yeah.
And did you ever feel like imposter syndrome?
I did most of the time, like I did not belong into the community. I did multiple times. I can say that my freshman year at St. Thomas, I definitely felt like an imposter syndrome. I'm in another community. Like, who are those people? Like, I do not belong to any of the groups. Like, I do not belong to to the USC group. Like, they're all Americans. They do not understand where I'm coming from, and I do not understand like their culture. So I was adjusting to the culture at the same time I was adjusting to them, and a lot of my friends adjusted to me, like to my culture, to my way of speaking. Like most of my friends now know, like whenever I'm trying to say the word that I don't remember, and they'll be like, "Oh, you mean that?" And I'm like, "Perfect, you understand me." So I definitely felt like an imposter. Like I did not belong to any place, and I won't lie, my first grades were were really bad grades. And so that put myself a little down even more, because I was like, oh my gosh, back home I was taking those really good grades, but now here it's bad. What is going on? So it's that feeling of I don't belong here. Like, what am I doing here? I'm a horrible student, my English is horrible, everything is horrible. So it's so easy to put yourself down in literally 5 seconds. But, to literally leave that place of downing yourself, it takes a long time. It's a really long process, but it can happen. It can happen.
How do you get past that?
A lot of support. From people that you love. A lot of self-affirmation. Like, make sure to tell yourself, like, I'm here, I have a purpose, and all of those are obstacles. And what we do with obstacles, we run through them and, just jump over them. Or, it wasn't easy, definitely. But it was a time that I learned that I was really, really strong, or stronger than I thought I was. It was a time that like I really needed to remind myself of my purpose in the United States. I really needed to remind myself of like how great it is to have friends from other cultures, and and that my comfort zone, leave it behind. Yeah, I definitely like get out of my comfort zone multiple times so that I could overcome that imposter syndrome.
All right, guys, we are back. Talk to me about what is an international studies.
So international studies it's basically we study how governments and sovereign nations, deal with each other. How do they encourage each other into like peace, like relationships? How does that work? Basically, like somebody told me that, and I keep it to myself. We basically avoid wars. Like that is so funny. I was like, because we do diplomacy. Diplomacy is a lot of like, a lot of talks, a lot of negotiations. So it's what I want to work with, but international studies touches a lot on that. International studies, the Master's for Diplomacy is literally studying relationships among countries and how we can make it better.
So I was born in Mexico, and I always think about like, what if I like stayed in Mexico and like my parents never moved to the United States? Like, what would that look like? And then I'm like, dang, I'm so lucky to be here. Like I feel so lucky to be at UST, and like being in the United States is just like a huge opportunity. Like, do you ever have that mentality as well?
I do feel, super blessed. I never take that for granted because I think that it's a once in a life opportunity. And I'm taking it like super, super serious, and make sure that I won't say I mess it up, but I will say that like I make sure that I'm fully aware of the opportunity that I have now, and I want to take advantage of every single step of it. So being in the United States and make sure that like, I'm learning as much I can, and in all my classes and with all professors that worked in the field that I wanted to work, all the diplomats that they bring, all the ambassadors, I make sure to go to all those lectures and learn as much I can from them. So I do feel blessed. It's a blessing to be here. It's a blessing to learn about other culture. I absolutely love to go to other countries and learn about them. I have been to Brazil. I have been to Taiwan, and was also a blast. And, making sure that like I observe the culture, it's really nice. Some people may say I observe too much or too deep, because I have been saying hello, y'all a lot. So I'm fine with it. Like the world is coming, so I'm getting ready to go. So like it's that type of stuff. People be like, yeah, you are too Texan. And I'm like, I like it. That means that, I adjust to the culture. So I like that. Yeah.
All right. Talk about the Dean's List party.
Oh my gosh. So I got, the first time that I got to the Dean's List, it was a surprise for me. So I really thought it was a scam, but then it wasn't. And I was so happy. And I called my family back home, and I was like, hey, I got into the Dean's List, And in the United States, we were talking about taking things for granted. Like in the United States, some people take it for granted. But for me, I was like, oh my gosh, I actually made it. Look at me. Like I struggled so much, and now I'm in the Dean's List. And so I called my mom and my grandma, and I told them like, hey, I got into the Dean's List. My grandma was like, what is that? So I needed to explain to her and tell her what happened. And they gave a party back home in the same day that I went to receive the certificate, like for the Dean's List. That was so funny. My mom and my grandma gave a whole party back home because I got into the Dean's List. And without me being there, and they sent pictures to me like with all the foods, all the drinks and all this, and I was like, that is not fair. And my mom was like, what do you mean? We are celebrating. I was like, I want to be there. I want to like celebrate with you guys. But my mom and my grandma, they always make sure to celebrate those milestones, and like even my birthday too back home. Although I'm not there, they still doing it. I think that is so sweet. I am my mom's only child, so she makes sure to celebrate all of this, even though I'm not there. So, it's special to me, like seeing how much they love me to the point to give a whole party without me. But, it's those moments that I want to make sure to always give it to them, to always be like, hey, I got into the Dean's List. Hey, I'm graduating. And make sure that, like, they got that opportunity to celebrate. Like, we celebrate in different countries, but we're still celebrating like those milestones. Yeah.
I love that. That's so cute. That's so beautiful. Aww.
Thank you. Yeah, they are. They are super sweet.
Let's talk about what's next. You're graduating in May. That's coming up. What's next? How are you feeling?
So, honestly, I'm a little nervous. I feel like the future is always unclear, but it's always a challenge, and I love challenge. I'm ready for it, what is next? Definitely, I'm graduating. I'm really happy having a whole ceremony. I came to college thinking about that ceremony, honestly. When COVID started, and I was like, okay, it started my sophomore year. Let's see, probably my senior year is gone. So seeing that this year we will have the ceremony and everything, I'm really happy with that. After I'm thinking, I'm doing my OPT, that is the 1-year internship for international students that you get to do an internship in the field that you studied. So I'm definitely doing that little internship and go through like what I study, like put in practice what I study, and that is really nice. I'm really excited to that. And my next after that, I want to do research a little bit. I have been looking to places that do a lot of research in the international field, like risk management a little bit. I want to look into that and then start my career in diplomacy. I think that I do want to be a diplomat, but I want to have a lot of like, research kind of based background and know a little more about countries. And of course, travel a lot.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. It was my pleasure to be here. It's always fun to be here.
Yeah. Thank you, Tchissola.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. Stay bold.